In this lesson, we will learn about an interesting concept in Android Studio and Android, which is navigation drawer. So what I have open is the first screen of Android Studio, and we will start creating a new project. So let's give this project, say the name nav1. And now in the screen, we will not choose an empty activity, we will choose a navigation drawer activity, and we will click on finish. So now Android Studio will just try creating a project. So we'll be a little bit patient as this project starts to come up. So Android Studio is creating a project and the project has come up. So now once the project has come up, we will just create a build and run the app. So let us run the app. So the build is happening, and the reason we are going to run the app is to understand what an Android Studio gives us in this case. So what are the pre-configured pieces that Android Studio has given us in this case. So we're just waiting for the APKs to get installed. The APKs have gotten installed and the nav1 app is open on the emulator. So now you can see we have got these three pieces here, and once we have here, so let me click on the navigation part of it and let us see how it will happen in this case. So let me just get my navigation part up, and now that we will click on our let's so let us bring the app up. So we have nav1 coming up again. So this is a common error which happens. So I had clicked on the zoom piece of it and this happens a lot. So just click it back again and it will go back. So now when I click on my navigation part, you can see something very interesting has come up. So this is the Android. This is referred to as the navigation drawer. So this is the header part of the navigation drawer, and then these are the menu items. So this is a default implementation of a navigation drawer that Android Studio has given us. So let us start seeing how we will modify it to and understand it. So this is our application bar main that we saw there, and then we have our navigation header. So this was the header we saw wherein we saw the photograph, Android Studio and everything. Let us try and now modify it. So the first thing we will do is we will just take an image that we want and add it to our images. So we've just taken this image that we had and we will add it to mipmap, and once I have added it to mipmap, we will see all the images in our mipmap. So I will just add it again. So Control C, and on mipmap I will do a Control V, and we can see that our mipmap has come up. So now that I want to change for my image view, I will just change my mipmap to @mipmap edufect, and you can see that the edufect logo has come up. The next thing we can change here is the text. So let us call it, instead of Android Studio, let's make it edufect. And the third thing was the email address it was showing. So let us just make it the email address for edufect, contact@edufect.com. So we have made those changes to the navigation header. Now let's move to the other parts of it. So we will go to our menu, and in our menu main activity, I will just reduce the resolution of it so that it is much easier to understand. So this is what we saw in the below it. So if I open the app again, so this was the header in our emulator, and these were the lower items, which were the menu items starting from import gallery. So if we see here, this is where this has been defined. So we have defined a navigation camera. This is the import definition. This is the groups we have defined. So let us see how we will modify it. So let us just say we want a few lesser items. So I will just delete the navigation camera so we can add and delete items. Gallery, we will say we just want an title called about. So let me call the ID as here. So we will modify the ID in this case and say the ID will be nav underscore about. So the next thing we will do here is on slideshow, we will say call it contact. So I'm just making it. So on slideshow, we wanted to make that change. So on slideshow, we make it contact, and the title we want to show is contact again. And the tools say we want to make it login so that you can log in into the EduFect learning portal. So now that we have done it, let's just change here. We want to start showing a list of courses. So instead of communicate, we will call it say courses. And the courses we want to add are say Java. So let's make this Java. Then the next course we want to add is say Android. So we will make it Android, and suppose we want to add another item, so we will just go and pick another menu item and add it here. And this item, now what the title we say want to show here is Python. The ID we are going to give is nav underscore Python, and we want to show an icon. So like in the case of Android, let's just put it the Android icon. So let me just copy the icon description and put it in the case of Python. So now we have designed all of it. Let us go to our main activity, the main screen, and let us see what do we have here. So we have the main design and everything. And what we will do is we will just go to content main where we saw our hello world, and instead of hello world, what we will do is we will first add our linear layout vertical, our standard piece, and the objective is that we will add a couple of text fields which would give us where we will show our values. So let me now within this add a couple of text views. So, and we will just increase the text size of all these text views so that it is really visible. So let's just make them say 24. And the initial text of these text views, we are just making it empty. So what we will show here is that whenever a navigation drawer item is clicked, we will change the texts here. So now with this, our design is complete. We will now go to our Java class, which is main activity.java, and try and understand what's happening there. So here there is a lot of initialization, lot of code which has been written, and all of this code is to help support the designs that we have done. Now what is important for us is to handle when the menu items or the items in the navigation drawer are clicked. So when the items are clicked, it will come to on navigation item selected. So this is the method that gets called, and this is where we will do all our action. And the item that got clicked here, we get it in get item ID. So now let's define it. So what were the item IDs we had defined? So let's start mapping them. And let's just do one more thing before that. We will just declare our text views. So let's just declare our text views T1 and say T2. And here let us just initialize them before, so that we can use them in the code. So T1 is equal to text view find view by ID r dot id dot text view 2. I think so that's the view. Let's just have a look at our text views. So this is text view 2 and text view 3. Perfect. And in the same way we will define our T2. T2 is equal to text view find view by ID r dot id dot text view 3. So now that we have initialized them, we will just go back to our method on navigation item selected, and what we will do in this case. So now that the first we had created was about. So let's define what we will do in our about. So what we'll do in our about is, let us say we will set the text as t2.set text about edufect, and the next thing we want to say in t1.text set and t2.set text, we would say, let's just put in something about edufect. So let's say edufect is the best institute for software courses. Similarly, the next one was nav underscore contact. So what we will do in the case of contact is, let us say t1 dot set text. Let's say we will define our website. So website is www.edufect.com, and t2 dot set text email is contact@edufect.com. Third one that we had defined there was login. So nav underscore login, and in this case we will say t1 dot set text, and we will say login into the edufect learning portal, and we will say t2 dot set text enter your username and password. So this is how we are creating them. So we are handling all those events. Then we have to handle it for the courses we had declared. So nav underscore Java, then nav underscore Android, and nav underscore Python, the 3 courses we had declared. And let's just quickly do that. So let's say t1 dot set text, and what do we say in this case? Say we just say Java, and t2 dot set text classes start tomorrow. Let's just put some text like this. Same thing I'm just copying and putting in my Android and Python, and I'll just modify them to say, in this case Android, and in this case we will say Python. So we have now handled all our items, and we also changed the design. So now with that, let me just go ahead and make a build and try and run it and see that we are getting all our desired results. So the build is happening. The build takes a little bit of time. And now as the APK gets installed, let's look at our app, and the application has stopped. So some issue in this case. So what do we do in that case? One of the best things to do is to clean the project and rebuild it. So in that case, we just clean the project and rebuild it. So the build is happening in our case, and it's installing the APK. Let's have a look. And again, the application has crashed. At times, it is also related to the resources we have added. So let me just delete this resource that I had added and delete anyway. And let us see if this was creating an issue. So I have deleted this resource, and let me just go ahead and add it again. So I will add it to my HDFI. So I have added it again, and now what I'll need to do is I'll just need to go to my and see whether I have added the right stuff. Yes, it's showing it. Let me now make the build again to see whether this fixes the issue. So the build is happening again. So these are very common problems, and the reason we run through them is that it helps us also figure it out and run it. So now I can see that nav1 is open here, and now let me click on it, and we are getting it exactly as we wanted. We have gotten the edufect logo. We're saying edufect, contact at the rate edufect.com, about, contact, login, and the three courses we wanted to show. So let us see, when I click on about, I get about edufect. Edufect is the best institute. When we click on login, contact, we are getting the contact details. Login is showing login into edufect learning portal. Java shows Java. Android shows Android, and Python shows Python. So here we have learned how to design a navigation drawer and also how to handle events when the items in the navigation drawer have been clicked.